The moment Jennifer's key turned in the lock, I was standing in our bedroom wearing her wedding dress, the one she'd been saving for our ceremony in 3 months. My heart stopped. Her footsteps paused in the hallway. For 32 years, I'd been Dr. Marcus Thorne, respected cardiologist, confident surgeon, the man everyone looked up to. But in that moment, wearing white silk and lace, I was about to discover who I really was. My name is Marcus, and this is the story of the most terrifying and beautiful conversation of my life. The conversation that would either destroy my engagement or finally set me free. Because some secrets are too heavy to carry alone, and some truths are too important to keep hidden. Let me take you back to where this really started. 6 months before that moment in the wedding dress, I was living what everyone thought was the perfect life. Dr. Marcus Thorne, head of cardiology at Chicago General. Steady hands that had saved hundreds of lives. A beautiful fiancé who believed in me completely. But here's what nobody knew. Every day after my surgeries, after saving lives and making medical miracles happen, I'd come home to our apartment and feel like I was suffocating in my own skin. The urges had started small. Touching Jennifer's silk scarf when she wasn't looking. Running my fingers over her dresses in the closet. Wondering what it would feel like to move through the world in flowing fabric instead of stiff surgical scrubs. At first, I told myself it was just curiosity. Stress from work. But the feelings grew stronger. Late at night, when Jennifer was at her nursing shifts, I'd find myself standing in front of her closet, heart racing, wanting something I couldn't even name. The stakes couldn't have been higher. I was 3 months away from marrying the woman I loved. My medical career was at its peak. My reputation was everything. One wrong move, one person who decided I wasn't normal enough, and everything could crumble. But the need to express this hidden part of myself was becoming impossible to ignore. It started innocently enough. Jennifer worked night shifts at the hospital 3 times a week. Those nights became my secret sanctuary. The first time I tried on one of her dresses, a simple black one from the back of her closet, my hands shook so badly I could barely manage the zipper. I stood in front of our bedroom mirror and saw someone I'd never met before. Someone who looked right, somehow. The guilt was crushing. What kind of man does this? What would Jennifer think? What would my colleagues think? I was a surgeon, for God's sake. I was supposed to be strong, masculine, and control. But I couldn't stop. Each time Jennifer worked nights, I found myself drawn back to that mirror, that feeling of completeness. I started researching online during my lunch breaks at the hospital. Forums, support groups, articles about cross-dressing and gender expression. I learned I wasn't alone. Successful men from all walks of life, lawyers, teachers, even other doctors, who found peace and authenticity in feminine expression. But reading about it and living it were 2 different things. The internet became my lifeline and my torment. I'd read stories of acceptance, of partners who supported their loved ones, journey of self-discovery. But I also read horror stories, relationships destroyed, careers ruined, families torn apart. Meanwhile, Jennifer and I were planning our wedding. Cake tastings, venue visits, guest lists. She'd show me fabric swatches and color schemes, and I'd nod and smile while secretly memorizing the textures, wondering what they'd feel like against my skin. The irony was devastating. Here was the woman I wanted to spend my life with, sharing her most feminine dreams with me while I was hiding my own desperate need to explore that same femininity. The double life was taking its toll. At work, I was making mistakes I'd never made before. During a complex cardiac surgery, I found myself distracted, thinking about the silk blouse I'd seen Jennifer wear the night before. My surgical resident had to call my name twice to get my attention. "Dr. Thorne, are you all right?" she asked, concern clear in her voice. I snapped back to reality, hands steady again, but the moment terrified me. My secret was affecting my ability to save lives. At home, Jennifer was starting to notice my distraction too. "Marcus, you seem distant lately. Are you having second thoughts about the wedding?" The question hit like a physical blow. "No, of course not," I lied, reaching across the table to take her hand. "Just work stress, you know how it is." But Jennifer knew me too well. She'd been a nurse for 8 years. She could read people's pain even when they tried to hide it. "You know you can tell me anything, right?" she said softly, her thumb tracing circles on my palm. "Whatever's bothering you, we can work through it together." I wanted to tell her everything in that moment. The words were right there. Jennifer, I need to wear dresses sometimes. I need to feel beautiful the way you're beautiful. I need to explore this part of myself or I'm going to lose my mind. Instead, I kissed her forehead and changed the subject. That night, lying beside the woman I loved, I made a decision that would change everything. I couldn't keep living this double life. The secrecy was killing me slowly, affecting everything I cared about. I had to find a way to tell her, to show her this part of myself. But I needed to start small. I needed to test the waters before I risked everything. The next day, I found myself researching during every spare moment, not just cross-dressing forums now, but relationship advice, coming out stories, ways to approach sensitive conversations with partners. I learned about gradual disclosure, about creating safe spaces for difficult conversations, about the importance of timing and context. Some couples started with small hints, sharing articles, discussing gender expression in general terms, testing their partner's reactions to related topics. Other stories were about bold, honest moments, partners who simply couldn't hide anymore and laid everything bare in one conversation. Both approaches had success stories and disasters. I started crafting a plan. Jennifer had a 4-day weekend coming up. Rare for a nurse, but she'd requested time off to work on wedding details. It would be perfect. Just us, no work distractions, time to really talk. I practiced conversations in my head during surgeries. Jennifer, there's something about myself I need to share with you. Honey, I've been struggling with something personal, and I need your help. There's a part of me I've been hiding, and I can't hide it anymore. But every imagined conversation ended with her looking at me like I was a stranger. Like the man she'd agreed to marry had been an illusion. 2 weeks before her long weekend, I did something that terrified and exhilarated me in equal measure. I went shopping, not trying on Jennifer's clothes in secret, but buying something of my own. A simple dress, navy blue, professional looking, something that could almost pass for medical scrubs if you squinted. I told the saleswoman it was for my sister. The lie tasted bitter, but I couldn't bring myself to tell the truth yet. That dress hung in the back of my closet like a promise and a threat, a symbol of the conversation I was going to have. The night before Jennifer's long weekend, she was working a double shift. I had the apartment to myself and decided it was time for a dress rehearsal, literally. I put on the navy dress I'd bought, stood in front of our full-length mirror, and practiced the conversation I was going to have. Jennifer, I need to tell you something important about who I am. But looking at my reflection, I realized something crucial. This wasn't just about telling her, it was about showing her. Words could be misunderstood, dismissed, rationalized away. But seeing me express this part of myself, seeing how natural it felt, how right it looked, that would communicate what words couldn't. I spent hours that night reading success stories. Partners who'd started slowly, sharing their need for gender expression at home first, building trust and understanding before exploring what it meant for their relationship long term. I found forums where couples discussed home expression, creating safe spaces where partners could explore their authentic selves without judgment. Some relationships had grown stronger through this vulnerability, some had adapted beautifully, but some had ended. By 3 a.m., I'd made my decision. I was going to start the conversation during her long weekend, not by telling her, but by letting her discover me expressing myself, just like in those stories I'd read online. It would be honest, authentic, and give us both the chance to process the reality rather than just the concept. Friday arrived, the start of Jennifer's 4-day weekend. My hands shook through 2 surgeries, my mind racing between saving lives and the conversation that would change mine. Dr. Sarah Kim, my surgical resident, pulled me aside after the second surgery. Dr. Thorne, you seem anxious today. Everything all right? I managed to smile. Just personal stuff, Sarah, nothing that affects patient care. But we both knew that wasn't entirely true. My anxiety was affecting everything. During the drive home, I rehearsed one final time. Jennifer would be there when I arrived. She'd gotten off her shift early to start our weekend together. I'd planned to suggest she run errands while I took a nap, giving me time to put on the navy dress and position myself where she'd find me when she returned. The plan was simple. Let her see me as I truly wanted to be seen, then talk honestly about what it meant. Start the journey of acceptance not with explanations, but with authenticity. But as I sat in the parking garage, key in hand, I realized I'd made a crucial error in my planning. Jennifer was home early, and I hadn't accounted for her being there when I arrived. The careful orchestration of my revelation had just become completely spontaneous. My phone buzzed with a text from her. "Home early. Come up when you're ready. I have wine and takeout from that Italian place you love. Can't wait to start our weekend together." I stared at that message for 10 minutes. This was it. No more planning, no more rehearsing. Just truth, just courage, just the hope that love would be stronger than fear. I climbed those stairs knowing that in the next few hours, everything would change. Either I'd finally start living authentically with the woman I loved, or I'd lose her forever trying. But as I reached for the door handle, I realized something that stopped me cold. This wasn't really about the dress, or the cross-dressing, or even about Jennifer's reaction. This was about something much deeper. For 32 years, I'd been performing masculinity like a role in a play. Strong, stoic, in control. The successful doctor, the reliable fiancé, the man everyone expected me to be. But underneath all of that performance was someone who needed softness, beauty, the freedom to express a gentler, more fluid version of himself. I opened the door to the smell of garlic and wine, to Jennifer's beautiful laugh as she watched something on her phone. She looked up when I entered, her face lighting up with the kind of love that makes you believe in forever. "There's my handsome doctor," she said, standing to kiss me. "Ready for the best weekend ever?" I held her close, breathing in her perfume, feeling the silk of her blouse against my cheek, and whispered the words that would start everything. "Jennifer, there's something I need to share with you. Something important about who I am." She pulled back to look at me, her nurse's intuition immediately sensing the gravity of the moment. "Okay," she said simply. "I'm listening." What I said next, what I showed her, how she reacted. That's when my real life finally began. That's when I learned what acceptance really means. But that conversation, that moment of truth, that first step toward living authentically with the person I loved most, that's a story that deserves to be told properly. Part 2. The conversation that changed everything. The Gender Diary exists to light that path with shared stories. Whether you found connection in this narrative, you're on your own journey of gender exploration, or you're here seeking understanding, your subscription fuels our mission. Every subscriber empowers us to keep illuminating these authentic experiences for our community. Kindly drop a comment below. Your voice adds to the tapestry of experiences that makes this space meaningful. Until our next story unfolds.